My name's Steve Guttenberg, and I'm here with
INS.
okay, and from Voxativ. But I mean, you're certainly unique in the audio business, right? That you come not from audio, but from automotive.
Yeah, that's right. I used to work with Mercedes-Benz for 15 years,
Yeah.
doing engines.
And you have patents?
Yeah, 17 on combustion mostly, and ECUs and diesel particulate filters, steering and everything. So it was a good job.
But that sounds like an interesting segue from that to audio, right?
Yeah, the audio was always my second interest.
Uh-huh.
And in my private time, I had those old Lothers.
Uh-huh,
Yeah, after a while, mostly when the head of Lother died in the 80s, I felt that there was no longer improvement to these drivers that I really loved. And of course, they had some restrictions. So they shout in the mid and these mechanical problems. And nobody cared about that anymore. So I decided to do that. And I made my own cone on my living room table while I was watching television in the afternoon. And it was never planned to make a business out of that. So yes, but one day the driver was ready, the first driver was ready. And I made a horn called Arpeggio later. First it was called, I don't know. Anyway. And yes, and I presented it to some friends when they came over, and they said, "You must sell this." I said, "No, I have a job as an engineer. I have no interest in that." But years later, after more people said, "You must sell it," and there was a possibility to leave Mercedes with a lot of money in my pocket.
Oh, good.
They wanted to get rid of engineers, not only me.
Why?
I think
don't they need engineers?
No, they had problems at the beginning of the third Jahrtausend. I don't know the English word for that. And they wanted to get rid of maybe 20% of their engineers. They had over 8,000 in Stuttgart, where I was working, and they gave everybody who leaves 250,000 euros.
Woo!
I said, okay,
all right,
that's good. I take this money and make my own company.
Wow.
And that was the birth of Voxativ. They said, okay, the speakers have a...
You're bankrolled, as we say.
Yeah, they have a, I would say, a level where they can be sold. And then I was introduced to the head of Schimmel Pianos in Germany, Mr. Schimmelvogel, and he said, "Oh, let me produce the housing." And that was the real birth of Voxativ. So we had these wonderful surfaces of real piano paint made by Schimmel Pianos, by a real piano maker.
Right, real piano black. Everybody else calls theirs piano black, but you have actual piano black, yeah?
Yeah, and this is what, there's different piano paintings.
Of course.
This was the real one.
The real one.
We had the company name laser cutted in brass, lying in the paint, like on the big grand piano. That was really wonderful to meet this guy and with all their abilities of manufacturing. And I put it in my driver, and that was a perfect match. And one day, Art Dudley came over and simply bought
from Stereophile. Right?
From Stereophile, he bought a pair and made it product of the year in the US. I said, what is happening to me? And that was the beginning of the story of Voxativ. Wow. So, yeah. And,
but there must be some parallels between designing automotive things, engines, exhaust systems. There's airflow, there's movement, right? I mean, there has to be something.
Yeah, it's more the mechanics, it's more the suspension that is really better than all the other drivers that I saw on the market, because our suspension can make a huge stroke, near more than half an inch of the small 5-inch drivers we have here, and so we can power it up with a DSP and let it make the big stroke that normally would not do when you drive it.
So it can stay linear even over wide excursions.
Yes, and so that was my thing to make a suspension that's really different to other drivers. And of course, the passion of these drivers. I use Japanese calligraphy paper for the cone, and later tone wood for the cone, and
How do you make the? Because you said that the wood is as thin as the paper. So
No,
how do
it's
you,
not a thinner. It's thicker.
A little thicker,
But
okay.
the moving mass is the same.
Oh, okay.
So we have about 2.5 grams. I don't know what that is in pounds.
Okay.
Or in ounces. We have 2.5 grams of weight on our 8-inch paper cone, and the wooden cone has exactly the same weight.
Oh, okay.
But the stiffness of the wooden cone is much higher, so I think 100 times. And when you use it in full-range mode, then you get a lot more bass because the deformation is lower.
Right.
For real full-range use, when you use a woofer, I prefer the paper cone because finally the highest resolution is a bit special with the paper, with the Japanese calligraphy paper. And when you make the complete driver out of wood, the sound is gone. So you must mix. And also on the wooden driver, we make the big cone from wood, and the small wither cone is paper also. That is so. Over the years, it came, and a lot of experiment, and mostly my stomach and my heart were the indicators, not measuring instruments.
Yeah, even for an engineer.
Yeah.
You go so far with pure engineering, and then it's your heart, right?
Yes, but you may know it by yourself. If you have speakers that are purely engineered with measuring equipment,
right.
You know how they sound.
You know what? This is my shtick, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean by shtick, right? It's my thing, is that to say measurements only go so far. And my feeling is in the audio world, like at magazines like Stereophile, and I think John Atkinson's measurements are fantastic. But I think the readers can lead them astray. They say, oh, look, there's this resonance. But it's like, yeah, but it's how it sounds. Engineering, correct me if I'm wrong, is basically a series of compromises, right? You give something to get something else, right?
I would say it is a mix of both.
Okay.
When you mix real engineering with your heart, I think then you have the right recipe to make a good driver.
Okay.
Of course, you must measure it.
Right.
Because big peaks, maybe at 5 kilohertz or at 4 kilohertz, makes the driver extremely peaky.
Right.
That is this Lowther thing that tilts you in the ears.
Right.
And it is easy to remove the specific geometry on the cone that is responsible for this peak. And so, of course, I did measure. But finally, when you remove too much and you make the driver completely linear, then this energy and this playing fun and everything and this heart is gone.
Right.
So you must find a way between this extreme measuring and this extreme feeling. And I think the best way is in the middle somewhere.
It's the art of it.
And yeah, use the measurement where you need it in the development of a driver or a speaker. I would say you need it, but don't overestimate it. Find the point where measurement has a border.
Do you want to talk about how other companies like PureAudioProject buy your drivers to use, so you OEM your drivers? Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
The mostly PureAudioProject and also Charney Audio, they are also here in the US.
What is that list? I don't know that one.
Brian Charney, he makes a backloaded horn with our AC 2.6 driver.
Okay.
They have their own strategy working together with our drivers.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with the results.
Right. I'm just reviewing one of theirs.
Yeah. And of course it's different. It's good that it's different. And I would say, and also we're happy to sell the drivers.
Oh, the other thing to stress, though, is that with the speakers, you make pretty much most of the speaker in-house, except for the cabinet, which is made by the piano company, right?
The small cabinets are not made by the piano guys.
Okay.
They're made in Poland, where all the European loudspeaker manufacturers get their housings made.
Okay.
There's a big company in Poland that they make all the housings for Canton and Tannoy and Voxativ. So they make our housings.
But the drivers you make entirely in-house?
We make them completely by ourselves. That
Even the
means
magnets? You make
even
the magnets?
the coils we wind by ourselves. The field coil drivers are also the big field coils we wind by ourselves. The magnets, the metal pieces on the magnets itself, the prototypes we also make by ourselves, but then we give it away to a production plant who make them with surface treatment and everything, and we glue everything together. But yeah, we make the complete driver. There is no part you can buy somewhere on the market in the world that is not unique. So So this is a difference between us and the others.
Sure, very much so, yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you,
It was a
Steve.
pleasure. I learned a lot. Nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet you too.
Bye.
Bye.